On this week's show, we're discussing a full breakdown of this week's PlayStation State of Play. The sequel to Ghost of Tsushima arrives. Assassin's Creed Shadows jumps back to 2025. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom reviews are in, and it might be hot. And everything else revealed on this week's Tokyo Game Show. But we've got all that and much, much more on this week's live GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we get together and round up all the video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. You're joining myself this week, alongside me co-host, the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. Welcome to the show.
Happy anniversary, Mr. Chris.
Happy anniversary. Yes, you're joining us for our 5th year celebration. We are doing this show live, but of course it's going to be up for all our wonderful viewers and listeners out there at a regular time. But yeah, Richie, busy show lined up. Very excited to get into it. We're going to be talking about absolutely everything. But yes, you are right to point out it's our 5th anniversary, episode 59 of this show, episode 430 of our podcasting fledgling careers. We are doing this live. We've got a wonderful group of folks in the chat. Hello to everyone. I can see a couple of extra people who've just joined now for a busy show, Richie. But of course, before we get into all that, don't forget to like the video, whether you're watching along live or watching it after the fact. Subscribe and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here at GamerGuildTV, like these very celebrations, like our weekly live streams, like our retro look-backs, our playthroughs, our shorts that go up, every single thing we do, because we are some busy bees over here at GamerGuildTV, and we wouldn't be doing it without the fantastic support of you guys out there, sharing, commenting, helping out with the algorithm. And we should point out for this show, any comments, your name gets added into the mix for some prize giveaways as well. So extra special shout out if you drop anything in there. We'll pick out the name, we'll add it onto the magic wheel of death. Prizes. And we'll pick out a name, and you'll get a prize. We've got a t-shirt, I believe, Richie?
Yes, we have a t-shirt, we have a mug, we've got some stickers, we've got some special pins that I've custom ordered. None of these I've received yet, so we don't have them to show yet.
None of them
in order.
But it is coming in. Richie, we've got a lot to talk about this week. It's probably going to be a slightly longer show than usual by subject of live celebrations, and also one hell of a week for video game news. Don't forget to follow us all on social media, everyone, at GamerGuildTV. You can find me at Arcane Rogue. You can find Richie at RichieC89. And Richie, you said there, you mentioned the merch. Of course, you could win some prizes this week, but don't forget we do have a wonderful merchandise store. There are constantly sales going on to it. You've just missed out on a 20% sale, but we do have some new stuff up there and out there ready to check out as well. So go have a look at that. Find yourself a nice hoodie for winter. And
I bought one.
You've bought one?
I bought myself a nice blue, the contrast hoodie. It's like blue and grey.
Nice.
Pretty sexy.
Pretty sexy, especially this time of year. It needs to be extra sexy this time of year. For those who are checking out the show after the fact, we did have a great weekend of celebrations. So this show was live. There's a Gears of War 2 stream up. We went back and actually ranked all of the video game consoles in history. We did some multiplayer with our audience, and we did a Q&A with you as well. So if you want to know a little bit more about those, if you want to get personal with some questions, write them in our Discord server. There's a link in the description below this video. But of course, if you've got any questions, throw them out through the course of the day and we'll try and get them. But this is about games. It's about game news on this show. And Richie, we've had a busy week. You did a live stream for Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which
yes, I did.
We'll obviously get to in the news because we're going to be talking about reviews and stuff. Do you want to give some first kind of top level impressions before we fully get into the breakdown later on?
I can't wait to play it again.
Oh, am I pulling you away from your game all weekend?
Yeah, I think we'll talk more in depth when we get to, because it is in the news with the review roundup, so I think we'll save it for there, but I want to play this game again.
You want to get back into it?
Yes, it's got its hooks in me.
It's got its hooks in me. That's a sign of a good game. It's a sign of a good game. So Zelda, you've been playing Zelda. Did you get wrapped up on Jedi Survivor?
No, I think I'm
now you're
about
torn. Now you've got two.
Yeah, I am. I really am. I was talking about this in our Discord. Links in the description. I think about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through. So you know how there's like two main villains of that game.
Mm-hmm.
I've beaten one of them. So I think I'm getting quite towards the end game to the point where I've started doing quite a lot of cleanup. So I'm almost got 100% Coruscant, almost 100%
Jeddah. Lovely.
And I'm quite far through cleanup Kobo as well.
So are we cleaning up on that then moving to Zelda, or is it going to take a side seat?
I think my plan, if I can bring myself to actually commit to this, because Zelda really, I do want to play that game again. Because I've only played like an hour and a half of Zelda, is to put Zelda aside for now, roll credits in Jedi Survivor, so at least I've done the story, then switch over to play Zelda, then go back for the Platinum on Jedi Survivor, because I kind of do want the Platinum.
Yeah, it's I think it was an enjoyable one from what I recall, playing it a year and a half ago now.
But Rancors can fuck off.
yeah, Rancors
one-hit kills in games are just they're bad. Developers, don't put one-hit kills in games. They're not fun.
Don't do Rancors in games. Yeah. It's that's the most Dark Souls boss you'll probably find in Jedi Survivor. That's interesting. I don't think you're that far off, to be fair. It doesn't sound like it. So you're going to have to split your time now, which is what I'm also doing. I was caught in that place last week where I had so many things on the dock between Plucky Squire, which I'd started for a first look and then really, really enjoyed it. So it kind of like carried on from there. But yeah, the Plucky Squire, I got the Platinum. Actually, in it, I went back and did the last couple of chapters after the first look. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a game I think you'll really like as well, Richie. It wasn't too long. I think it probably took about 10 hours for the Platinum. You could do it in one playthrough with a guide, but I opted to play through it first without, thinking thinking it had a chapter select, but unfortunately the game in its current launch state, the chapter select doesn't track your collectibles. So the chapter select's pretty redundant unless you're doing the story. So I initially went back and thought I'll do a couple of chapters, looked online, realised it wasn't tracking, and then I realised I had to do a full another playthrough with a guide to collect all the little collectibles, which in hindsight, because it is such a short game, it wasn't too problematic. But yeah, I got the Platinum in probably about 10 hours.
See, I'm one when I do like to get the Platinums in games because it just gives you that sense of completion. But I don't like to go trophy hunting from when I play the game, from the day I open the game, which I think like people who are obsessed with the trophies, that's what they kind of do. But I think I like to experience the game naturally. I will do a lot of collectible stuff. I'll get lost. I'll explore everywhere I can see. But then it's usually like halfway through the game, I start looking. Is before I'll even look at the trophy list.
Yeah, I agree. That's the way I did it. But as I said, it really fun game. It's that 2D, 3D. The combat's not overly complicated. Is a tip for anyone out there doing a second playthrough. Every boss fight, every mini game, you can just pause it and skip. So if you don't want to spend 5-10 minutes like on a boss fight or in a puzzle section, you can genuinely just go in and pause it and go skip mini game, and you cut right ahead to the next credits, the next scene, which saved me a lot of time in the cleanup because obviously I didn't want to do those boss fights, which are the hardest parts of the game, over and over again, having just finished them. So it worked out really well on that front. But yeah, Platinum number 144, I think, for me, that is. And it's not bad at all. And I have to get back to Star Wars Outlaws, but more on that when we get to the news later on, because we've got a great busy show lined up. And of course, live streams throughout the course of the week. This week's live stream probably will be Gears of War 2. It makes sense. If we started today, we'll probably want to get there and finish it later this week, schedules depending.
Yeah.
But we'll look at that. Brendan, the Super Chat, member for 41 months. As a guild hero on bronze, thank you. And Jin, a member for 41 months as well, says, time flies when you're getting great content. That is absolutely true. And Al Davis Music says, great to see the progression of this channel. We love to see it as well. I feel like we're definitely more consummate professionals, even though we're ultimate amateurs still. I do feel like we've came along leaps and bounds from just sitting there.
Don't think we're amateurs. I think what restricts us in terms of our content and the production values is time more than anything.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I think the shorts that we put out this last week for like Astrobot and stuff, I think look just the same as any other short I would see online. And then in terms of like, our podcast production, I think quality and sound and especially distribution, as you said, we've not missed an episode in 5 years. Every Monday, same time. Maybe putting it live, we've slipped it once or twice, but it's still gone live on the day. Maybe an hour or two delayed when we wake up from bed and go, shit, it wasn't scheduled, or we missed a tweet or something like that. But for the most part, touch wood, half a decade with no major slip-ups. Although we did nearly lose the recording last week. We got about 35 minutes in and I realised that Streamlabs wasn't capturing the video footage, and it was one of those moments mid-conversation. I just Richie was talking about Dragon Age or something, and about 5 minutes into the conversation I realised, and my eyes must just go, oh shit. Check the audio. The audio was still there, which is always salvageable. But yeah, video is a whole different world, so...
And then my audio recording crashed about 20 minutes before the end as well.
Yeah, we almost lost the end, so which I had the audio from the video file, so it's a whole editing nightmare. But yeah, Sam in the chat says, I'm torn, I want to watch live, but I do potentially want to ruin my Monday morning routine of crying whilst driving to work listening to this. I'd hope you don't cry every Monday morning, Sam. I think we should look into this a little bit more. If that's the case. This is a joyful podcast. Hungry Moogle says as well, yeah, I'll also listen on my Monday if there's any change to the audio from the video. Little changes, yeah, subtle changes, but usually it's in the interest of quality rather than cutting out content.
Yeah, we don't tend to cut anything. It'll be the same show. It's just instead of using the audio that we're currently recording via Streamlabs, we also record the audio separate to get the higher level of quality. It's very rare we do any audio editing.
No, it's sometimes I think I put in a special shout for audio listeners, but that's usually after the back of a mistake. But we'll less of that, hopefully, much less of that. But yes, 5 years, that's what we've been playing. And of course, Richie, as I said, busy show. So without further delay, I think we should get into the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the live news.
The news brought to you live. We've been saying that for 5 years. We've always had that in every one of our show's iterations. The news. I mean, the shows revolve around the news, so the news was always going to be there. But that bit,
I can still do it.
Can you remember the other one?
The super sexy special Stadia story segment,
aka
the news.
The news. We had ones for other shows, didn't we? I can't remember the other ones.
Oh god, the excellently exuberant Xbox expose.
Expose. The news.
I didn't even have to say that one because I was a host of that show.
And what was the PlayStation one?
Oh god, the properly prepared PlayStation perusing points.
Hey, the news.
These are not in front of me.
The news. They've just been ingrained in you. And yes, of course, finally, the graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette. aka, it's hard to get alliteration that fits kind of your topic point that you get. So just think of the effort and creativity that goes into bringing you the news every single week here on GamerGuildTV. But yes, of course, the news is always brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members who support the channel that extra little bit further from as little as 99p. You can do so just like many other folks in the chat. Damn it, Ted's saying, what was the Luna one?
I don't know if we only did like 2 episodes.
I know, yeah. Thanks, Amazon. The loosely listed Luna listening something?
I don't know. I'm going to
keep
going. I'll look it up.
Yeah, Ted, there's a flashback. I forgot all about that. Yeah, we did have a Luna one. Luna Listening was the podcast, and again, for a peek behind the scenes, is we had it all lined up. We, of course, had our intro, we had our theme tune. It was intended to be like a weekly podcast in line with our Stadia content and everything else. And just nothing happened. And we did 2 episodes, and just it never grew. The games never came. The news was never there. The community around it just kind of withered. And I know there's people out there still playing it, but there's nothing. There's no notable talking points.
We had the plan for Luna Listening before talking the PS.
Yeah, we
had the assets there. We were just waiting. Well, first of all, we're waiting for Luna to be launched in the UK to launch that show. And then when it launched, and then we did. I think that's when we launched the show. But talking the PS was already out by then.
Yeah, it's.
And then there was no news. So
yeah, we spent literally hundreds of pounds to get everything set up, like the intro and stuff, assets, and then and obviously the equipment. Like you have to buy the controllers and your subscriptions and whatnot. And yeah, it didn't come out in the UK initially, so that's kind of stamped us a little bit. Where everyone else overseas was able to get stuff off the ground and started, while we just had to be patient and wait. And yeah, and here we are still waiting. And I think I've used my Luna controller like twice since buying it, which is just like sunken cost now at this point.
Mine's actually just around my girlfriend's because I've got my 4K Fire Stick attached to her TV, which she has actually been using. She's been using it for Dragon Age Origins.
Ah, nice.
So I took one of my Xbox controls and my Luna controller around, just in case we decide to play anything on Luna around hers.
Well, it's all about being adaptable, Amazon Luna, just like we've been, because realistically, we're here to talk about all of the news of the week, and it starts off with a huge PlayStation showcase, which we wouldn't have otherwise covered if we'd have stuck to our guns with other stuff. So let's get into it. As I said, news is always brought to you by our Guild Heroes. Fantastic folks. Many, many of you in the chat watching along live. Stickers and badges next to your name. I can see them all. I can see those Stadios. I can see those precious Stadio Cheerios and the controllers.
I've never had the heart to get rid of them.
No, I think they'll be always part of our channel, just like the colour scheme, Speaking of always part of the channel, and in our hearts, Tom is in the chat as well. 5 bloody years, my God, bravo, gentlemen. Bravo, thank you. And thank you, Tom, for joining us, of course. We wouldn't have the platform we have today without your support and technical prowess as our techie teacher as we kickstarted this 5 years ago. Jeez. Remember when, for Tom specifically, remember when we didn't have kids, Tom? We had all the time in the world and all the money in the world to do whatever we wanted. But here we are. Ben Botel in the chat as well, dropping some celebrations. It's a good time to celebrate. So yes, thank you to everyone. But let's get into the thick of it, of course, Richie, with many variations of the news. PlayStation, story number 1. PlayStation State of Play happened this past week. It happened on the Tuesday, of course, because we go live with our show on the Monday, so of course they're going to screw us over by going live on the Tuesday. Stealth dropped. I wish they would give us a little bit more notice for this, because
the time it was really late.
It was 11 p.m. over in the UK, but lots of announcements. We are going to do a full breakdown on pretty much every game that came out because it was a really good showcase. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought they had a really solid mix of small games, big games, and of course they had that big banger, which we're going to get into to pop all that off. So we'll go through it probably chronologically, but I also wanted to start with the biggest news story, just because I don't want to get to the end and think, oh, we're running over time. Let's cut it short when actually everyone's going to be here for that one. State of Play happened. Let's kick things off, Richie. We have the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but it's not called Ghost of Tsushima 2 or Ghost of Tsushima, which I saw a lot of people dubbing it before announcement. Sucker Punch, of course, PlayStation first party studio. We've been begging them for many, many moons now. What's happening? Where are you at? Ghost of Tsushima, of course, came out originally. If you remember, mid-lockdown, 2020, it came out in that summer. And when we were all locked in our houses and we couldn't go anywhere, we got this fantastic, beautifully rendered game set in feudal Japan. What we'd all been asking Ubisoft to do with Assassin's Creed for many, many years as well. And it's getting a sequel. We have Ghosts of Yotei coming in 2025.
Is it Yotei or Yotei?
I mean,
I said Yotei at first, but I'm now leaning towards Yotei.
Pronunciation. You
Yotei.
You go me. Yotei.
I don't know.
Yotei?
Yeah.
Who knows? But reading from the PlayStation blog, Ghost of Yotei is coming in 2025. Today, we're so happy to announce Ghost of Yotei, the latest game from Sucker Punch, and the introduction of our new hero, Atsu. When we set out to make a new Ghost game, we wanted to maintain the core pillars established in Ghost of Tsushima, playing as a wandering warrior in feudal Japan, offering freedom to explore at your own pace and highlighting the beauty of the world. We also wanted to continue to innovate, to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story and the island of Tsushima and shifted our focus to the idea of the ghost instead. At Sucker Punch, we love origin stories and we wanted to explore what it could mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to the Ghost of Yotei, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore. We're not diving into story specifics yet today, but we can reveal that Atsu's journey takes place in 1603, more than 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, and our story is set in the land surrounding Mount Yotei, a towering peak in the heart of Etso, an area of Japan today known as Hokkaido. In 1603, the area was outside of the rule of Japan and filled with sprawling grasslands, snowy tundras, and unexpected dangers. It's a far cry from the organised samurai clans who lived in Tsushima, and it's setting for an all-new original story that we can't wait to tell. And just like that, Richie, internet goes wild. Everyone wants a PlayStation Pro to run this thing. The price is no object. The woke side of the internet's kicking off because it's a female protagonist. It looks beautiful.
Well, it's the anti-woke side.
Yeah.
They'll be saying, that's just them being woke has gone for female protagonist. Guys, Lara Croft exists.
Yes, but we're not getting into that, of course. We're going to get into, realistically, the hype and excitement. And this was when it was announced as a state of play, I thought, it's going to have some second-party deals. They're going to just basically clear up their obligatory things with their partners. We might see one or two updates. But other than that, I didn't expect really anything from first party. So to get the sequel to one of my favourite games of all time had me just like, the bomb's dropped. I love it.
If I expected Ghost of Yotei to be there, we probably would have covered it live.
Yeah.
You actually, Chris, for full disclosure, Chris actually texted me asking me if I wanted to cover it because it was quite a late show and I basically don't live in my house at the moment. It was like, if it's just going to be a bunch of second or third party stuff just to kind of cover the bases, probably covering most of the stuff we already know about, I don't think I'll bother getting dressed to drive halfway across town to record, then to go all the way back. I think I made a mistake. Sort of.
But we get to cover it on this show.
Nice evening. Yeah.
And talk about it here. So, in terms of Ghosts of Yotei, there's a couple of things to get into, of course. As we get close to release, we'll learn more about it. The big takeaways from me is it's not Ghost of Tsushima 2.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different location, which we always, I guess, the DLC for Ghost of Tsushima took us to Iki Island, so we were getting slightly closer to mainland Japan. And I think we always knew we had to go to Japan at some point. But to take the title of the game, which from a marketing standpoint is probably the most interesting part, like the PR team and stuff have to now think, well, it's easy to market a Ghost of Tsushima 2. We always know why sequels have numbers on them, because statistically they sell more, people understand it's a grounded IP, it's easy to build off the back of. To go with the Ghost of as their brand now, it's an interesting commitment to make. Where do you stand on the lack of Tsushima 2, I guess? I
think Tsushima isn't not necessary, really. I think what they've done now is they've defined what the brand is. With this, it's Ghost of Japanese location.
So we could
it's Ghost of location, really. Insert location here. So I think it's probably a smart move, as much as I did love Jin Sakai's thing. And I did think there was scope to continue it with the Mongol invasion, going in the mainland, etc., potentially getting called up by the Emperor of Japan, that kind of thing. I think there was probably scope for a story there, which I 100% believe is in a drawer somewhere at Sucker Punch, an outline for that story. This, I think, is a smarter move, because if they only have, say, 2 stories for Jin Sakai in them, what do you do with the third game or the fourth game? By doing this, you open it up so much more to be an ongoing franchise.
Yeah.
Which I'm all for.
Yeah, it's the same. I'm both not upset. Upset's the wrong word, but kind of like Jin Sakai was such a good protagonist, and I had such a good time experiencing his story. And although at the end of the game it felt like it was wrapped up neatly enough, it did still leave it open for me wanting to see more of him and his cast of characters surrounding him go on more adventures.
Could happen, though.
Exactly.
Jin Sakai DLC for this.
So this is the second point is, do you think this is a full main entry, or this is like a Miles Morales equivalent and we're expecting Ghost of Tsushima 2 maybe in another few years? Because they're not clear on that.
I think this is 100% a full main entry.
Okay.
I don't think there's any question really over that. I know they haven't said the length of the game, so it could be a smaller entry. But I think when you read the PlayStation blog, this is the full entry. Yeah. This is the sequel you've been asking for.
Yeah, I am with you on that one. I'm just playing devil's advocate with it. But I do hope, though. I mean, if Ghost of becomes the franchise, I'd love to see those little small when we talk about PlayStation, the reason they're number one in a lot of gamers' minds, it's because of the first party IP and the storytelling. And they've got so many studios now that I do hope they branch out, and if they give like Jin Sakai's story, so we get a Ghost of Sakai maybe, or whatever they want to do, make it personal, make it a different location. I would quite happily take Ghost of Yotei next year, and then maybe in 2-3 years, a little spin-off of Jin Sakai, like what he's up to, what other adventures he got, and then come back for Ghosts of... I'm going to say... I don't know what I think. I was going to say a location. My brain went, say Hiroshima. Don't say Hiroshima. Say somewhere different.
Ghosts of Nara or something.
You could do
Ghostwire
Tokyo.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I'm not sure I agree. because I think one of the reasons why this is my most anticipated game, full stop, at the moment, is because I loved the first game. I actually have the platinum in it twice. The only game I actually have that of.
Wow.
And if you do too many games, you do get the Assassin's Creed effect where the market gets oversaturated. I know there hasn't been that many Assassin's Creed games recently, really, because there's Valhalla and the Mirage, and Shadows is in the news. I won't go into that just yet. But Valhalla kept bringing out more and more DLC, so there was never a break. It pretty much was bringing out DLC all the way up to Mirage coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is where you can get burnout on a franchise.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to have the space.
Yeah, I agree.
It builds anticipation.
I mean, yeah, waiting 5 years for Ghost of Yotei has everybody hyped. And I guess with PlayStation first party, the cycle does tend to be a lot longer. This isn't Ubisoft 1,000 person team who can crank out a game with it, what seemingly is within a year on an almost annualized basis. Moving away then onto the other part of it, the obviously new protagonist, Atsu. We know nothing of her yet, other than she seemingly is a samurai. The trailer does give us a slight glimpse into she might have a wolf companion,
which I think is cool.
Does it feel like that's a growth of the game mechanics? Like let's give her a sidekick almost.
I don't know if she has a wolf companion, but you know how Jin was kind of synonymous with the fox. Remember all the foxes around Tsushima? So that was almost his spirit animal.
Yeah.
Hers might be the wolf. So it might be going that kind of angle.
Yeah.
Again, there's similarities between them. Jin has his flute. She's got a shamisen strapped to her back. So they both have a musical component to the character.
We're there. What on earth is a shamisen other than a magical spell?
It's the weird guitar thing she has strapped to her back. It's a traditional Japanese instrument.
Yeah. Is it like a lute?
Yeah. If you listen to some shamisen music, you go, oh, that's what that is. It's a kind of very twangy, plucky kind of guitar-y sound. You get a lot of Japanese stuff.
What we get when they sit in the spa and the camera pulls out. Like that type of like twang.
There'll be in the music in the trailer is a kind of twangy stringed instrument. That's a shamisen.
Oh, that reminded me of like a western. I felt like they went for a because we should say like the era this is set in, it's pretty much at that element of Japan where it's almost becoming more modernized, where the kind of the old side of it. If anyone's watched Shogun on Disney Plus /FX, it's almost like that era where the Portuguese are starting to get their Western religion is starting to seep into parts of Japan. And it does say in this the northern area, which this is part of, is a world away from the organized samurai clans. So I think that could make for some really interesting kind of dynamics between who are you defending, who are you representing, who's Atsu's like characters, family, friends around her, and what that gets into. But I fully trust Sucker Punch with this. Is it going to look absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous? 100%. Is the storytelling going to be fantastic? Yes, it is. Is the gameplay going to be fun? If it's anything like Ghost of Tsushima, just slightly elevated with different things added in, 100% yes. Is it going to be a massive sprawling open world? Yes. There's not one thing about this game unless you didn't like Japanese history or something, that there's no reason why you wouldn't enjoy this game.
But with Ghost of Tsushima, although it's a big open world and it has collectibles and stuff, it didn't overdo it. I never felt that the map was absolutely covered with too much stuff. You know, when you get some games, I won't pick on Assassin's Creed, Horizon, also in the news. When you open up the world and the map, and there's just markers everywhere, and sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. Ghost of Tsushima never really had that. It had stuff, but I think for me, it was the perfect. They had the balance right. Yeah,
I agree. Roger in our live chat points out that she does have 2 wolves on the hilt of her sword.
That's awesome.
I'm actually looking. It looks like what's the thing that blocks your hand from getting sliced off? The guard.
There's an actual Japanese
crossguard
name for it.
I know it's not the crossguard.
Crossguard is like the European equivalent.
Yeah, there's a picture on the blog which actually looks like it's like a wolf's body curved around the hilt to create that crossguard. Very artistically done, which of course samurai blades are some of the most beautiful weapons ever created. So Nice little bit of detail there. But yeah, Ghosts of Yotei. Very, very looking forward to this one. Brendan in the chat says, games like this make me want to be a Sony pony again. I was an OG PlayStation 1 and 2 kid. I mean, I don't blame you. Like, this is the thing. We've criticised PlayStation so much for having a quote-unquote quiet year. They haven't. Between, like, Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy, Astrobot, they've had a phenomenal year. A lot of it has been second party, but it's been a very, very well padded out year in light of their own studios doing nothing. We won't talk about Concord. But in terms of like what's stacked, we keep saying like Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, like the big hitters are waiting, ready to go. And I think as we get into the deeper part of the PlayStation 5 generation, they're really going to come out swinging, I think, from 2025 onwards, because like just the nature in which everything's starting to get stacked up. But yeah, Richie, any more you want to add on about Ghost of Yotei other than hype?
They've went for a different colour palette where Jin was red. She's obviously going to be yellow. They've got rid of the chevrons that was representing Jin with like looks like a fan. But no, I want it. Give me this game. When it's ready, I will play it.
I guess I was about to leave the conversation, but just to come back to that conversation, Ghosts of Yotei Legends, like what happens with the multiplayer component? Because that was phenomenal. Is this a separate spin-off they may be working on? I
think that's a separate thing. I think I'm a big fan nowadays of multiplayer being separate to single player.
Agreed.
If you want to make a multiplayer game, make a multiplayer game. If you want to make a single player game, make a single player game. So Legends, I think there's enough there to be a standalone thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, just Ghost Legends could work. Yeah. Ghosts of Legends, I don't know. Legends of Ghosts, we'll see. I'm sure they're working on it because it was, in the first game, it was a free edition that added later on. It was it was the best multiplayer I've played in a long, long time. It really got its hooks into me. So I'm looking for, I hope they don't just leave it to a side. I think as far as the PlayStation Live service goes, they had something with that. But then again, they had something with Last of Us Factions and they abandoned that as well. So just if it's not monetizable, I guess it's not worth the investment. But we have the rest of the state of play to get back to, Richie. That wasn't the only thing revealed. There was actually quite a lot to get into and talk about. So moving on then to the second part of it, we got some Astrobot DLC. So potential Game of the Year contender. Astrobot only came out a couple, like 2-3 weeks ago. They've announced a trailer to showcase that it's going to actually come and feature some online speedrun levels and 10 new bots to rescue, and it's going to be coming later this autumn. The trailer showed off things like little Helldivers are in there and some other creatures and characters. I'm surprised we didn't get the rumoured Square Enix stuff. There was, not leaks, but in the credits of the game, there's characters who weren't in there as bots. For example, Croc from Legend of the Gobos was in there, and a couple of other ones that they were in the credits as like copyright like details, but they weren't in the game.
Okay.
And we know there were Square Enix characters in Astro's Playroom, and I guess spoilers for Astrobot, they're not in the game, which leads a lot of people to thinking like, how can Square Enix not be part of this rich PlayStation nostalgic heritage? And I think the big rumour is they're just going to save Square Enix for like a Square Enix DLC pack, which I can see.
That might be the smart move, actually, just taking it to the business side. By not having them in the base game, it means Sony can capitalise fully on the full price of the base game without having to share some of the profits with Square Enix. Then you bring out a Square Enix DLC where you can split the profits.
Yeah. If that's how they want to go with it. I'm not sure how the negotiations work behind the scenes, but all these ones that are just getting added along with the speedrun levels, that's all free, coming later this autumn. So within the next couple of weeks, you'll see that one. I think it's a clever way to keep Astrobot in the news as well. Like, with it not being a multiplayer game, just keep it ticking over online. So we'll hopefully see some more some point soon. But that's just a little nice side note to kick-start it off with some PlayStation first-party content. Next up...
Before we go in, I'll be back in just a moment.
Okie dokie. I'll dive into the next one anyway while we wait for Richie, because this is a live show. We got the Midnight Walk. So the Midnight Walk was probably the least expected one from me. This game is made by the creators of Lost in Random. So if you remember the little title, I think it was EA published, that had, it was a little dice character. It looks like a Tim Burton-esque thing. Well, they're back again with a PlayStation 5 / PlayStation VR 2 title. So interesting enough, this game can be played in VR 2 and also PlayStation 5. It does still look very much like a Tim Burton movie, and you have our little Jughead character, which looks like the Jarhead guy from Elden Ring. He looks like our little protagonist fellow, and he's in this basically ultra creepy, Little Nightmares inspired, I would say, world made by Claymation. So I think one of the points they mentioned on this game is that a lot of the animation, it's done using real clay figures. So if you go look online on YouTube, you can actually see how a lot of these characters were designed in real life, kind of like Aardman animation style, handcrafted and then put into animation. So the frame rate of this game's got like an interesting like jarriness to it. Jarriness, pun not intended, but I'll take it. As this little character seemingly goes through a Little Nightmare style and fights all these creatures. And that's the Midnight Walk, and the Midnight Walk really jumped out for me of just visually something that looks fantastic. So now Richie's back with us. I'm presuming you've checked out the trailer for the Midnight Walk.
I did, but with it being VR, because I did actually watch the full state of play. With it being VR, to be honest, it didn't really have my attention.
Well, that's where you're wrong, because it's VR2 and PS5.
Oh, I saw the VR and this of it and went, and moved on.
Well, that's where you're wrong then, because it can be played in either, which I think is probably the best and the most smartest move for this game, because I think visually it looks great. It's
a Tim Burton kind of esque one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just gone through with the trailer and described some little pieces while you abandoned me for a minute or so. Everything okay on your end?
Yeah.
Just needed to
coffee.
Pop out. Coffee. So that's the Midnight Walk. That'll be coming at some point soon. Release date unknown. There was a trend with some VR stuff in this state of play, which made me think I appreciate Sony talking about it. But I think again, we mentioned on last week's show, Astrobot not coming to VR, and then games like this being kind of half and half, it's like less said about that, I think, the better. Jin in the chat says Lost in Random was a great game with a nice little unique style. Absolutely, Jin. I think this is taking that and just elevating it to like what's the natural evolution of their approach to horror / platforming and puzzle solving. And I think it looks great. I'm very excited for this one. It's got big Little Nightmare vibes, and I'm a big fan of Little Nightmare. Almost like it's like horror, but it's not jump scare horror. I don't mind being in these creepy worlds. I just don't like being scared the shit out of, like happens in a lot of horror games.
Yeah, I'm a full-on coward. So with stuff like that.
Gaming coward. But speaking of horror, let's move on to the next one that was announced. This is Hell Is Us. We've seen little bits of this before, but this is the next trailer we got was for Hell Is Us, which is a game. It looks shots of war-torn country filled with many, many problems. But I think this is the one, Richie, that visually reminded me probably more of a PlayStation style game with that kind of over-the-shoulder third-person gameplay mechanics. Although then it suddenly elevates into a game that you're like, this isn't what I was expecting out of Hell Is Us. It starts off looks like the remnants of like a war invaded part, and then it goes into a gameplay style that I just wouldn't expect, with kind of like almost like medieval vibes.
Yeah, I think it looks really quite cool, actually. Anytime I see a game like this, my concern is always, is it Soulsborne? I don't think this is, by the looks of it. The combat looks quite aggressive. It's the slow, methodical combat in Soulsborne games and the crushing difficulty that I don't enjoy. But the fact that it looks a bit more aggressive, it's kind of weird. It's kind of mixed between medieval and techie, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the protagonist from Watch Dogs by the looks of it. You've got the tech from Death Stranding. You've got the open world that looks close to Stellar Blade, I would say. Yeah. The villain actually looks like the Spot from the Spider-Man animated movies. You know, the one where like all the portals, you put your hand through his head and it comes out his stomach, almost kind of thing. But yeah, I'm digging the vibe. It does. I'd say if I was to pick anyone, it reminds me of what Returnal looked like, but with maybe out the guns and the sword. I think the protagonist looks very generic, unfortunately. But in terms of the actual gameplay and the style, I think that was almost like the sleeper surprise from all this.
Yeah, the protagonist could stand out a bit more when you get to know them more, if there's like a story trailer or something drops. Mm-hmm. But this is just kind of a generic trailer, really, isn't it? There might be some customization options.
I think so. It strikes me as the type of game that would get that. But again, I think that'll be the one that'll fit like that Stellar Blade gap next year. where like middle of spring heading into summertime, Fest Party don't really have anything. So like, right, we need a big game to promote that fits our PlayStation mantra, and I feel like Hell Is Us will drop in and do that job.
There's no release date yet, so it might not even be next year.
That's true. That's right. We've seen it before, so I feel like it might be quite far along. But another game that is far along is another VR title to discuss, which was Metro Awakening VR. We've played multiple Metro games on the channel now. Of course, it's inspired by the Metro books. It's basically Metro VR. We go back underground. There's radiation leaks and lots of stuff going on. I think this game looks great. If I had VR, this would be a title that would be right up my street. The Metro games are good. The first-person shooters predominantly, or first-person action games, and they lends themselves to VR. Yeah.
And that level of immersion, I think, does, and the fact that they are first-person, lends itself quite well to VR. I was never a fan from what I've played, the Metro games. I can appreciate them, but they didn't really click for me. If I had VR, I'd be tempted, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one that I could see potentially coming out later on non-VR, just because I think the game looks gorgeous. It's in that Metro world, and I think if they're going to recoup all their money, I'm not sure if it's going into like MetaQuest or anything as well. But as far as it is, it's coming this year. It's not long. It's actually not next month, but almost next month, November 7th. So you won't have to wait long.
It's listed on Steam.
All right, so we will get that elsewhere. What else do we got? We got Archage Chronicles, which was probably the one standout game for me that made me go, this seems like filler. It's so weird, the cadence of kind of like games, isn't it? Like when they come out these shows, you watch them, you see them, and you go, yeah, okay, I know what it's about, I know what it's doing. But just visually, there's something just doesn't click. I don't know why. This was the one for me that stood out where, like, is it Kingdom Come Deliverance? Is it something different? And then I just, when it ended with the terrible name of Arcade or Archage, it just fell into that, like, generic category for me.
I know what you mean, but I can't put my finger on why. I think it's just because it looks decent enough, and it'd be one of them games, I think, if you played it, you'd enjoy it. But it's not standing out in the crowd, and it is this kind of dark fantasy stuff is quite crowded. We've already talked about Hell Is Us. It's a crowded genre at the moment.
Yeah, the combat does look interesting. It reminds me of For Honor, where it's kind of the combat looks like you have to do more duck, dodge, and block than just your parry and attack. It does have elements of Dark Souls-y vibe to it, which I don't think it is. It definitely steals more action, but it looks like one of those titles where it's stealing the best bits from lots of games, but it's not doing anything unique to itself, which I think is why it's getting lost in the mix a little bit.
I think I need to see a bit more. I think it's one that I think is still on my radar, but I want to see a little bit more before I kind of go, I'm in. Or it's kind of got half my attention. So it's, I want to see. I'm not sure what more I want to see, though. That's the thing. I need to see something that makes it stand out in my mind, whether it's narrative or it's gameplay, something.
Yeah, it definitely needs something more. And again, I'm not saying that I'd never play it, because they're like, it's games like that they catch my eye, and then when they maybe review well, or I see or listen to other gaming podcasts talk about it in a positive light. Again, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, one of my favourite games of the year. That kind of fit into that category leading up to it, where it visually looked great, had an interesting premise, but it also looked generic at the same time, and I had a blast playing that one. So I am open to these things, but I think there's a couple of people in our chat pointing out, like, yeah, it is kind of just fitting into that saturated market point where it's getting a bit risky, and it's not. People really don't know what it is yet, but it's still early. It was the first reveal as far as it's like the announcement trailer, so we'll probably hear more and see more about that in times coming. There's a nice little quick one to add. Palworld got its PlayStation 5 release, so of course it was on the Xbox and Game Pass PC. Beginning of the year, February, right? If I remember rightly, came out in February.
Yeah, we've got first look on the channel.
We do indeed. The Pokemon/inspired survival game, released on PS5. No release on Nintendo, no surprise there, as they take them to court and lawsuits. Did you see the details of the lawsuit? They're not actually going for them on copyright infringement. They're going for them the patent around the Pokeball is their lawsuit point. So the actual catch mechanics of throwing a ball and catching the monsters in that is what they're hinging their lawsuit on.
They've kind of already tried and failed on the copyright infringement, haven't they? But I suppose you can't mythical kind of weird beastie monsters and stuff. You can't really patent that.
Well, they haven't tried because Nintendo literally didn't sue them or anything, which is what shocked a lot of people initially. But then I think you're right. It's like, creatures like, oh no, it looks like a sheep. Sorry, Nintendo and Game Freak, but a sheep is a sheep. There's only so much you can do on a real world animal. It's
the Electabuzz looking monster with the machine gun arm. That looks very much like Electabuzz.
Yeah.
That's where you're going.
But seemingly they don't seem bothered on that. It's more the certain mechanics of the game. But again, is catching an animal in a ball really? That's like, oh, you killed something with a bow and arrow. It's like, is it unique enough? It'd be interesting to see. But either way, Palworld out on PS5. I'm sure it'll do super well. It'll boost everyone. It's great to see it on the platform. We enjoyed what we played. I think just both of us as adults, we don't have the time for a survival game. Like, I don't have the hours to mine things and gather gear and build. It's just...
I like survival games, but the thing with survival games, it kind of takes over the hobby. It's one of them games where, for me, gaming's the hobby, not a game.
Yeah.
If you play into survival games, typically that game becomes the hobby.
You're in it to survive. Roger in our live chat does point out it's not just Nintendo. It's actually didn't get a release in Japan. Full stop. So that's, again, protecting their own. Pivoting away from modern games, though, let's look a little bit more further back in time. We got the announcement of the Luna Remastered Collection, and not to be confused with Amazon Luna. That probably needs a bit of a remaster itself, but less said about that. This is a game that I didn't actually know existed. Like, if you said the name to me, nothing would come to mind. However, looking at it in this remaster trailer, it looks like a visual delight. It's like a classic Final Fantasy JRPG. Right up your street, Richie?
Yeah, I'm very interested in this. I think this kind of style of NES RPG are ripe for remastering because a lot of them are kind of almost lost to time a bit.
They are.
Like this one, I had no idea of this. And because they're kind of pixel art style, you can just remaster them and use some smart tech to up-res them and bring them to the modern platform.
Absolutely.
And I'm all for that. It's like, yes, I am very interested in this game.
Yeah. The standout feature for why this was so unique back in the day is it has anime cutscenes.
Yeah.
So
not only was it the first to do it.
I don't know if it was the first, but it was the most revered for doing it. So you can see in the trailer actually the cutscenes are like, again, anime holds up pretty well anyway, just by artistically the way it's designed.
It's stylized.
Yeah, and if you polish it up and clean it up, put that with modern 2.5D graphics, I think they are right for the pick, and you're completely right. But this one seemingly has a lot of kind of positive goodwill because of the anime cutscenes as well. It helps kind of really adhere the story together between the gameplay. But yeah, it's interesting how games like these, and we've actually got another story later on in the news regarding it, a different title that was announced at Tokyo Game Show. After finishing and getting the Platinum and Sea of Stars, I feel like my eyes have been opened up to these style games a little bit more now, depending on how long they are. But some JRPGs, as we said about Palworld, do I have the time? But the PlayStation Portal kind of becomes like that little RPG machine when you've got a couple of hours sat around. But yeah, Luna Remastered Collection coming to both PS4 and PS5 and probably other platforms early in 2025. We then got a bit of a Dragon Age update. I don't really want to go too much into Dragon Age because we've seen it before. This was kind of the block of the show, which was just updates and short things. I actually felt like Dragon Age had a bit too much time. In all honesty, I know it comes out soon, and EA probably paid to have that little window of opportunity. But they showed off a lot of gameplay and a boss fight, and if anything, it actually made me less interested in Dragon Age because the boss fight just seemed to go on and on about roll, cast a spell, roll, cast a spell, roll, block, and it didn't feel like anything was actually happening to the dragon stood in the middle of the arena. If you know what I mean, I don't know what you thought of it.
Well, to be fair, Dragon Age games then kind of. If you go back and play Origins is very much more meant to be more tactical and less action based. On console, it is kind of actiony, and it doesn't quite work in my opinion when I've watched, because my girlfriend's actually just rolled credits. I don't think it quite works on console, the Origins. The subsequent games went a bit more actiony.
Right.
I like how this is kind of, yes, it is a bit of an action game, but keeping its tactical gameplay roots in there, which is why there is a kind of stop and start kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you cast your spell, then you wait, then you cast your spell and you wait, you cast your spell and you wait, and you're meant to be controlling your whole party, that kind of vibe.
So it's closer to like a traditional Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
In a way.
Honestly, I'd say more Baldur's Gate than Final Fantasy.
Okay.
I always saw the Dragon Age Origins as a kind of a spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate. It's almost like at the time Origins came out, if at that time you made a Baldur's Gate game, it would probably be like Dragon Age Origins.
Right.
I'm starting to come around to this game, actually.
It's got tons of positive reviews. It comes out in just over a month now on Halloween.
I've been reflecting on why I had the series in a bit of a negative view in my mind, and I think a lot of it with Inquisition was I didn't like the character Solus. You can get over that shit though, and for me, I think it's because at the time I was a PC gamer, and the games were getting very consolified, so I was moving away from what I loved about Origins with every subsequent game. But I think it's probably time for me to just get over that and accept the game for what it is.
Interesting.
And when I've kind of done that, I was like, I might be interested in this game.
Yeah,
it's not a definite purchase yet, but my interest is going up.
Right. I mean, in terms of timeline-wise as well, is you've got Survivor out the way. You'll probably be finished Zelda by then. We'll get to the news later on. Well, I mean, you might do. We'll get to the news later on as why there's like a big void suddenly left at the back end of this year. So Dragon Age could have a very convenient timing coming soon. But yeah, so they showed off the fight of that. We had updates for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Got some more DLC that's out now, which is Radical Reptiles. We might play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles later on with the audience because that was one of our suggestions. I'm always down for a 2D side-scrolling brawler, so...
Apparently it's 6-player, and I've got it downloaded already.
Oh, good stuff. It's also available in cloud, so we'll see. We also got Sonic X Shadow Generations trailer drop, which we know this is the Sonic Generations remaster, but they've also added in new characters and extra bits for the new release, including Shadow, and then even more convenient and blended it in is it's in line with the Sonic the Movie 3 coming out this Christmas, and not only that, the Shadow in the game will be voiced by Keanu Reeves from the movie, so it's Sonic Keanu from the movie in Generations, which is probably the nearest I've ever seen a movie tie-in sync up in well over 15 years. So that could be interesting to see. The main game comes out 3 days before its initial release if you buy the digital deluxe version, by the way. So, interesting.
I think it's a smart move because bringing Keanu Reeves in... The Sonic movies are doing well. Bringing Keanu Reeves in to be Shadow, that's going to get people interested. And then people come walk out to cinema and go, I really enjoyed that Keanu Reeves was great as Shadow. I was like, the game's out.
Yeah. Go. If you want to play as Keanu, go do that. We then got another update for Fantasian Neo Dimension, which again kind of hit into our block of just some updates of some mixed fantasy games. We actually didn't see any like Honkai Star Rail stuff, which I'm shocked at.
Game Awards.
That's true. It's maybe they're saving it all for that. We then got an update on the next Alan Wake 2 DLC pack, which I'm very excited for. Didn't really show much off about it. Of course, we got the first one, which was the Night Springs release, came out a couple weeks ago now. That was 3 short story and initials taking part in the same world. This one is the bigger DLC. This is going to be the Federal Bureau of Control facility called the Lake House. It's taking the agency's history and handling supernatural events, and of course blending it in with Halloween. And it's aiming to release this fall, which hopefully it'll be in around Halloween because it's the right vibe.
I am right in saying that the voiceover is Jessie's voice actress.
It is, yeah. So Jessie Faden from Control, she features in the first DLC for Alan Wake. You actually play as her in Night Springs. For one of the 3 missions. Really nice to get back to that. It just shows how close Remedy's universe is and how they've subtly woven them together. We don't get much from the trailer other than a jump scare and the door to the lake house. I'm guessing it's going to be some zany stuff, but it says October. that's practically a month away. I'm guessing they want it out for Halloween because it is that type of vibe. And I got the deluxe one, so I'll be going back for the Lake House. Interesting stuff. Where are you at with Alan Wake now, actually? Because you finished the first one.
Yeah,
and then
played the first one. Never got the platinum or anything. We just played the story. I am interested in playing Alan Wake 2. I just don't. It's more of a case of when rather than if. I'm quite happy to wait for this DLC to come out and maybe they bring out a Deluxe edition or something.
Well, there's a physical edition.
In price. Yeah, it's something kind of that vibe. Because I do feel like I actually want to play Control as well. Because it just didn't quite click for me. But there again, Jedi Survivor didn't click for me when I first played it on Xbox. It is now.
Yeah,
So I'm happy. I want to go back to Control.
With all this included, there's a physical version of Alan Wake coming out, which bugs me because being a fan, I bought the digital version, even though I'm a physical collector, which really, really pissed me off. Because I was like, I would have 100% just bought this physical. So now they're doing that after the fact. And I've got the platinum. Now it's annoying. However, for you, in that order of things, I would say the best way for you, because this is what I did, once I finished Alan Wake 2, I went immediately back and played Control and the Control DLC, because it ties in. I think the order in which you should do things is get around to Alan Wake 2, then I think you actually should play Control afterwards, because I think it will add so much more to Control's story, knowing how Alan Wake ends up. Would be my recommendation. And then probably the Lake House DLC is going to go full circle and tie it all in, but we'll find out soon.
I remember that. I don't have a timeline for it, though. It's just on the list of things I want to play.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And hopefully a price reduction. A couple of people on live chat. Edward says, recently picked up Alan Wake 2. Can't wait to get into. My game of the year last year. Edward, you're going to love that
Halloween's coming up.
It is. And Steve says, the first Alan Wake 2 DLC was great. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah, I am as well. I really enjoyed the Night Springs DLC. Moving on, we got an update for Hitman World of Assassination coming to VR 2, which it's a really short news story purely because World of Assassination was already out for VR. It just wasn't VR 2. So it looks like they've gone in IO Interactive and updated it for the new controllers for VR 2. But it's basically Hitman in VR. Go snap some necks, go snipe people in the head, do what you need to. We love Hitman. And it keeps reminding me when IO pop up that I forget they exist sometimes because they go so radio silent. Hitman was so successful for them. But then they keep reminding me, it's Project 007, which is a good while ago now. So I think next year we might see, maybe the Game Awards could be ripe for, they're independent, they're owned by anyone. So that seems like a good place for Jeff to get in there and go, do you want some stage presence?
It feels like Jeff and them would get on as well.
Yeah, it does. It's right up his vibe street. I could actually see Game Awards. We get a trailer, and then it cuts off the trailer, and you get, the 007 circle, the gun barrel start, comes across the stage, and it's the director of IO comes out and then stands there and says, this is what we're working on.
I could see a Muppet skit. As a 007.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Agent, and then one of them turns up as Agent 47 and it's some little skit there.
If I was doing that, I would also have someone planted in the crowd just with a red tie and a suit, just a bald dude, just not doing anything.
Looking salty. No, it's not him.
Yeah. A couple of folks in our chat, Jin saying, yeah, loved Alan Wake, never got into Control, so maybe I should play it in Control. Yeah, that's what I recommend. Get to it. Jin, do it. And yeah, Al Davis music, no surprise. Looking forward to their new Bond game. Yeah, I know Al's all over that. I know you posting some things about Well There's Not Enough, deleted things and remakes the other day. 007 games, I miss them. Like the movie tie-ins, I miss them. I have actually acquired loads of the older games to play through leading up to Project 007. So similar to Indiana Jones later this year, for anyone who's not aware, we've got them lined up. I've got Lego Indiana Jones. I've got the Staff of Emperors or something. What is it? Emperor's Tomb. Staff of Kings. I've got the PS2 games lined up to kind of have a retro look back at them. So plenty of retro stuff here on the channel as well as modern stuff. But yeah, 007 games. Bring them back. Speaking of bringing things back, Richie, the next announcement we got was leaked actually a couple of weeks ago at... what event was it? They had a statue, like a collectible statue of the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver at an event. And everyone was like, well, you've just leaked the game by having a physical box ready to show it off. But we finally have the official news. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered have been announced. coming, actually released 10th of December for PlayStation 4 and 5. These games are very, very well revered from that era. It's actually Amy Hennig's first game of Uncharted fame.
All right.
So this is her kind of where she got her roots of, I guess, trying to implement storytelling within a game, and it's well revered.
I'm not against the remaster because it takes classic games like this onto modern hardware if it does nothing else. Looking at it though, I think a remake might have been a smarter choice.
It's got Prince of Persia vibes, right? Where the new version looks tidier, but not enough for someone who's not played it to go back.
And I think as well, it's a cult classic rather than just a classic. So I think if you brought out a full remake with modern looking that looks very modern, honors the original game, it might have a bit more traction.
Yeah,
I think this is largely going to be for people who played the original game and want to play it again.
Yeah, I feel like this is to test the water as we start to look towards maybe a third entry. There was some spin-offs, actually. There's actually one that comes to PlayStation Classics this week, which we'll get to.
Crystal as well, Dynamics.
I know.
They've got
Embracer.
They've got the legacy.
So it's Embracer, so I'm not surprised that it's just a remaster and not a full ground-up remake. So we'll see. A couple of folks joined us in the live chat. We've got Derek in there, says, hope you guys are well. It's just you two today, Rob and Tom. Tom's been in the chat live. Rob's busy at the moment, so he won't be joining us, unfortunately. Schedule clashes and whatnot. We did try to get them both.
Yeah.
But we are looking at also working with the podcast over the coming months to probably get some guests back on. It's been a while since we've bothered with any... Not bothered, that sounds lazy. It's been a while since we've bothered with any guest. It's been a while since we reached out and collaborated with other content creators out there. So if there is anyone you'd like to see on the show, do let us know. Do reach out to them and point us out and just get in touch. But I've spoke to a couple of people already regarding it, so you might see some familiar faces, some new faces coming up. Like I'm seeing in the chat now, Sarge is there as well, says happy anniversary all. As with Derek again, some of our wonderful guild heroes joining us live. So after Legacy of Kain, we got Fear the Spotlight, Richie, which was the PlayStation 1 horror game from Bloomhouse Games, which is the spin-off, kind of like they're going to curate and all the horror games going forward. But this is the one that looked like PlayStation 1 graphics horror, if you can remember it.
I can remember it. I'm not sure it's doing anything for me, though.
I appreciate it from just the visuals of it.
I'm not liking it visually, to be honest.
Because it's PlayStation 1, or...
Yeah, I think early 3D games... I see that. I think they're trying to go for like an artistic choice here by going like quite polygonal early 3D.
100%.
But I don't think that is a good look for games. I think that was a technical limitation that we're happy to move on from. Some games can stand the test of time like that, but they tend to be the more graphically stylized. The look of this game isn't really doing anything for me. I don't know what it is. Just it's not for me.
So I think there's something quite creepy about the pixelated enemies. Like it adds almost like a different type of fear to me. I actually think it's unlocking my fear of Dino Crisis, because the velociraptors and stuff in there weren't visually that scary, but the nature in which it's so low res, it can't. There's a different element. Like I think low res textures almost has a fear, just because I'm such a snob when it comes to like 4K graphic fidelity. I think there's an inherent fear of just low quality that scares me. Like I don't want to go back to this technology, so I'm purely scared from the lack of quality. I think it's an interesting style, and I do think it'll probably bode them well. Hopefully the game's good. It actually looks a little bit like I can't think of the name. Emily. We found Emily. Why am I blanking on the name? Guilt, yes, Guilt. It looks like Guilt. Fear the Spotlight coming out in October. It looks like Guilt, but with that low res poly vibe, I guess. I do have to pause, however, to shout out a super chat. Sarge, of course, one of our most wonderful guild heroes out there, has just dropped for £50 super chat. Keep doing what you're doing. Been a great 5 years and a pleasure to be involved. I'm going to be dipping in and out today. Life has got in the way, of course, it always does. But happy 5 years. What a legend, Sarge. You supported us for as long as I can remember. Very, very generous, my friend. Thank you. We'll keep making great content for you. Thanks to that. And we do actually have stuff lined up already, Richie, that we're going to be reinvesting again. Can't wait. And Derek dropping one in there as well. 499 Super Chat, Derek. Great lads, great podcast. Hope to see the views grow and grow. You all deserve it. Thank you, Derek, again, one of our wonderful supporters. Wow, what a time. What a time. We're not even through the first story, Rich. You're still going, let's get cracking. Let's get cracking. As I said, thankfully, the news is timed up well with a special show, so we don't mind going a little bit over. But yeah, it's a long one. Where are we at in terms of our games? What's up next? I'm just going to skip Towers of Agasba.
Not too hard for you?
No, it's another one of them. Like, who sits there in a room and goes, Towers of Agasba is a name that's going to sell millions.
I think there's a cool game in there, actually.
There probably is, but I think it's suffering from the similar fate to Arcade Chronicles.
It's suffering from the branding of the game. It doesn't stand out from a brand point of view.
What is it about Towers of Agasba that's got you?
I don't know. I think it's just because, well, reading from the PlayStation blog, in Towers of Agasba, you'll meet magical creatures as you build a perfect village. That's literally all they've said. But it's got quite a mix of stuff. It's kind of got some of the crafting stuff, village building, some exploration, some traversal. Haven't seen much in the way of combat, but I don't know. It's kind of given me slight Pokemon Arceus vibes.
All right, okay. Well, you played Arceus, I didn't.
Yeah, I loved Arceus. It was really good.
I mean, it's one of them where it's got an interesting vibe, almost like an Avatar vibe to it, is what I'm getting, with like the different variation in creatures and landscapes. And then you've got your Fortnite glider, which you have to have in everything. I guess your Zelda glide, depend on your game. Yeah, again, it's one of them things where it doesn't look bad. It just looks generic. I don't like the art. I don't like the art style for the cutscenes, by the way. Like straight up, like just ugly Pixar attempt. But
outside the cutscenes, it looks quite good.
Yeah, the cutscenes actually look very jarring compared to the game.
Typically, do you remember when games used to be the other way around? The gameplay was jarring, the cutscenes were amazing.
Yeah,
it's went the opposite way.
There is part of me that thinks if you took this game and merged the footage with the other game, it would look the same. This is a survival game, though, right? So it's kind of in that Palworld vibe.
No.
Oh, well.
It could be narrative based. It's got a town building element to it, but that could be part of the narrative. You're building your town over time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
As you explore the world.
Well, early access starts soon enough for Towers of Agasba. Hopefully they'll rethink the name, because I don't think you're ever going to see a game sell millions that's called Towers of Agasba, unfortunately. No. It's like Alan Wake. Lego Fortnite is coming with some split-screen multiplayer. I do like the thought of that. Some couch co-op, that is. So you get some old-school side-by-side with your siblings or your friends. And there was a new controller announced. We got an update for Dynasty Warriors Origins. We got a date for it, actually, coming Friday, the 17th of January. I don't really need to add any more on for Dynasty Warriors. Looks really good. I'm very excited to see what a PS5 version of it looks like, because it's 1 versus 1,000 is the vibe for these games. I like the fact they've gone with Origins, because we were up to Dynasty Warriors 9, and then you get 9 Empires, and then you get 9 Deluxe, and they do like different iterations of the same numbered entry. I think it looks really good. I just think if it's coming out in January when it's quiet, it's one of those where I had Dynasty Warriors 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Empires, the Kessen spin-offs. I never got into the what was the other spin-off they did? Was it a Gundam one? They did like Gundam Warriors, and
they did the Zelda one as well.
Is it Hyrule Warriors? Is there 3 of them, 4 of them? There's a good few, right?
2, I think. I think there's only 2.
But there's so many spin-offs, and it's Koei Tecmo doing what they do best. But yeah, I know so much of my like Chinese history comes from Dynasty Warriors, to a point where I remember one of our friends who lives over in China now. I remember actively like talking to him about like certain parts of the history and the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but he knew nothing of it. And this was where like my video game history held me in really good stead, with like, oh yeah, this is it, and there's giant statues of Guan Yu and all this, and it's such a good game, and it tells such a good story just through action games. So I'm excited for it. And I think coming out in January could be that time where I go, am I about to go back to Dynasty Warriors after like a 10-year absence? Quite possibly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And of course, they had a lot of success with Wolong Fallen Dynasty as well. So they almost have like two outlets now for telling the story. Moving on, we got an update for Monster Hunter Wilds. It's been confirmed for coming February the 28th. So this is Capcom's biggest franchise of all time. In terms of Monster Hunter Wilds, Richie, where are you sitting with that one? Because I know you've never played one before. I've never played one before. Chat, let us know, where are you all sitting with Monster Hunter Wilds? It seems to be getting lots of hype.
I don't really have much interest, to be honest. I think they look cool, and I get why people are into them. For me, I just wish... It's one of them games... I'm trying to figure out how to put this. It's one of them games where I know there is narratives in these games, and the narratives are typically quite looked upon favourably, but the narrative almost seems to be a side point, and the whole game is largely about hunting the monsters, defeating it, going back to base, upgrading the equipment so you can go out and fight bigger and bigger monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't appeal to me. I like a narrative to stretch the entire length of the game. And that's why I'm kind of not into it. I've not sat there and watched a Monster Hunter trailer and went, I need to play this. This game's for me. I think they're awesome for what they are, but it's just not a style of game I'm into.
Yeah, I get kind of mixed between... It's got Horizon Zero Dawn vibes, but without the story, as you said. But then it also leans heavily into like the Final Fantasy world, where it's like just crazy creatures and... Like I said, you're really only going out and gathering them. There's a couple of people in the chat similar. Shin says, yeah, tried some Monster Hunter games, never got into them. Edward, yeah, I'm not bothered by Monster Hunter games. Brendan, I tried them on DS, seems more fun with other people. Yeah, playing with friends, I think, for you, like you're getting your crafting materials and maybe sharing them. Al Davis
they're quite
Music,
social.
The same, yeah, bought 2 Monster Hunter games when they were on sale, never got into them. I think it is one of those ones where it's just a different maybe audience. I think the Japanese audience especially goes huge for this. I know Monster Hunter is wild over there, pun intended. And I think especially, I think there's just something about it, like having little cat sidekicks and stuff. It's got a vibe and it does incredibly well. Remember, this is beating out like Resident Evil and stuff in terms of Capcom sales. It's going to do, no doubt, huge numbers for them. So I think they are trying to add more elements of story, which is what I always appreciate. But I think it's going to sell gangbusters. But I think seemingly by our chat and ourselves, it's just not one for us. Maybe
it's one we should one day jump into on a stream and just, you know what, let's just give it a go.
Yeah,
but I'm not in any rush to do it. Yeah,
it looks like it's one of those that I'm going to have to appreciate from a distance, and then maybe I'll get to one eventually. It's like Final Fantasy. I appreciated Final Fantasy from a distance for 16 mainline entries until I got into it, and then. Yeah, absolutely loved 16, so who knows? But Monster Hunter Wilds coming next year, so we've got that nice and dated February 28th. February's starting to line up to be a busy kickstart to 2025. Yep. Moving on, so some more PlayStation specific. Well, I say PlayStation specific, it's not really. Lego Horizon Zero Dawn, or Lego Adventures, Horizon Adventures, I think is its official name. It's got a date. It's coming Thursday, the 14th of November to PlayStation, PC, and Nintendo Switch, remember. This is Aloy's Adventure. The trailer showcased some new skins, Ratchet and Clank, Sackboy skins, because it's all Lego, so I guess you can change it. I'm looking forward to this. I think I'm not sure what the price is yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a reduced one, similar to Astrobot was, maybe £50-60. It showed off more of the game, but it looked more just like a Lego movie with the comedy and stuff. It didn't actually show any more Horizon style stuff. But yeah, what are you thinking, Richie? Is this one for you and the girlfriend?
I think it is. I don't think it's a day one purchase, but eventually, I think this is the kind of game where you go. You know, when you get an inevitable PlayStation sale and you look at it and it's only £30 and go, yes, that's the time.
That's the time.
I think it is worth the full price money if it comes out, say, £50-60. but I don't really want to pay that for it, if that makes sense.
That's fine. Well, maybe you'll have a spare £10 for a Horizon Zero Dawn upgrade, because we got the long-rumoured, the long-leaked Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered was officially announced. This is Aloy's first ever adventure. Speaking of the original remaster, it's here. It's been developed by Nix's, which is the studio Sony acquired to work on ports and remasters. And it looks like they've gone over, re-recorded plenty of hours of the game. They've mocapped lots of stuff extra as well to make tweaks. If you own the game originally on PlayStation 4, similar to The Last of Us last year, you can upgrade for £10, $10 to the new version. It launches on Halloween, so October 31st for PC and PS5. They've basically did what they did with The Last of Us, where they've took the engine from Forbidden West and went back and put it all over Zero Dawn. So like Aloy's facial features and stuff look a lot more updated. The cutscenes and stuff, the conversation points, they've gone over them again. I know a lot of people were giving it criticism, and I know we were as well, saying like, does it really need a remaster because it looks so good? But this is one of those where I don't really have any complaints still. It looks better. Yeah. The game realistically came out in 2017, so we've seen a lot of games remastered later than that.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I can actually justify. I don't think I'd advise people to buy. This is the problem. I don't think I could advise people to buy the remastered version, because you could just go for you could buy the remastered version probably for £60-70, or probably for like £10 in a bag of bucket on Amazon. You can get the PS4 version and still have a very good time.
Yeah.
And then so I don't know if I can justify. I can't justify it financially.
Yeah,
it looks better. Is the definitive way to play. But I think it also highlights a bit of a lack of first party from this year from PlayStation.
But we said earlier on, like they don't need it because they've stacked themselves so well. Yeah. And it's that if you break the year down between Horizon Adventures, that's a brand new game. Astro, that was a brand new game. Stellar Blade, that was a brand new game. I'm blanking. Rise of Ronin, that was a brand new game. Like again, not first party for some of them, but they've had releases that were exclusive to PlayStation. This goes back to, I think a lot of people said, is like, don't buy it if you're not fussed on it. I saw people kicking off, but realistically, if you've never played this game and you've just got your PS5, this is the version I would tell you to go get. But then you're right, if you've got the physical, because you've got that physical benefit, go buy it for £10 from CX or Cash Converters or wherever you get your, or eBay, wherever you get your secondhand games. Pay for the £10 upgrade and get this version for pennies by comparison for how good it's going to look.
So on Amazon, you can pick up Horizon Zero Dawn for $35. You could then pay the $10 upgrade and save yourself $5.
Well, there is a slight caveat to all this. I don't know if you've seen it, but PlayStation on the sly put their digital price up of the original. So if you were to go back and go, I'll go buy the PS4 version now, it's actually just doubled back in price up to about $40 over the week. So like they know what they're doing, but again, it's their digital storefront, so they can do what they want with it. And this is why you and me, physical's king. I can dig out my 2017 copy of Horizon Zero Dawn, put it in my PS5, pay the £10 if I wanted to, and I'll get all those upgrades. Actually, one of those things I should say, they did mention, Richie, your trophy progress or any progress will carry over. So if you maybe start Horizon Zero Dawn and you only got halfway through, or you didn't do the Frozen Wilds DLC, that carries over to this remaster as well. So you can pick up where you left off with all the bells and whistles of the new one, which is crazy.
I think as well, one thing that always annoys me a little bit about these things, with my history being in PC gaming, when you buy better hardware for PC, you just turn up the sliders in your game, you get a better experience. They're monetizing something that on other platforms has never been monetized. So I do understand that Xbox as well, you get the best version of the game available to you when you play on Xbox. And I don't think Sony will ever escape that criticism while they're doing stuff like this.
No, but we said last week Nintendo seemed to get away with it for theirs, for all them Wii U ports.
But argue with your wallet. If you don't like these sort of remasters and paying for the upgrade, don't buy it. The reason they do it is because people buy it.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And they've got like the movie/TV show coming out as well. So I think it's a knock-on effect of all events. I think we said last week's show, it's a lot of it about is getting the new people to the team up to speed with the tools as well. So a lot of these people who finish this remaster at Nix's wouldn't be surprised if they help support the next Horizon 3 project, because they understand the tech now by working on this remaster. So there's lots of interesting things in the works, but at the end of the day, as Richie said, speak with your wallet if you want to. Speaking with your wallet, Roger points out the remaster's $50 or £50 equivalent probably, which is no surprise. Edward in the chat says, I might be the only person out there who thought this game needed a remaster. The facial animations on the original felt rough to me. Well, I think that's the thing we take for granted and we look back with rose-tinted glasses, where 2017 was a hell of a long time ago and it was on the PlayStation 4. So yeah, I think bringing it up to speed, there is an argument to be made. Lee's in the chat as well, all the way from Turkey. Says 5 years. Wow, lads, I remember sitting here through it all. 4 years ago, celebrating your 1 year anniversary. I remember that very well. I think we crammed me, Richie, and Tom into my spare bedroom upstairs. Very, very warm. I remember the pizza was balanced on an ironing board and all.
Yeah, on the landing.
On the landing, because we didn't have space to get 3 adults in on a chair with pizza and the lights, and it got very, very warm while we streamed with you. And I know, Lee, you were with us for the whole day.
Maybe we should remaster our live streams from
if we can do that and charge £10 for it, I'll take that profit. Bjorn's in the chat as well. It's great to see so many familiar faces. Mark, congratulations on the milestone podcast. Remember you guys from the Stadia days. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for stopping by. Reality V Gaming, congratulations on 5 years with you. Been since the beginning. Crazy Bad, been crazy all along. Through these years as well. Mark asked about PlayStation 5 Pro. We're going to get to that when it gets to the news section, Mark, but we'll let you know. It was a great day, Lee. It was a great day. We're still on the PlayStation State of Play, so let's get moving. Stellar Blade has some Nier Automata DLC, which is coming where they're crossing them over with a new photo mode. This was one of those reveals when they showed it. I just saw it and thought, this is purely for all the thirsty people out there. You've got another protagonist in some slightly nice clothing is now in there.
Do you think Stellar Blade might have done a bit better if they didn't overly sexualize her in every single trailer?
No, I think it worked wonders for the title. The game was really fun as well. It's just like the demo I played. And yeah, it's just, I think there's a market for it. And I'm not one of those people that say like, oh, everything should be dulled down. It's like, if you want to make a sexy AF protagonist and put her in some tight clothes, more credit to you for doing it in 2024. You don't have to buy it if you don't like it. But I think tying it in with Nier Automata is a very clever tactical move. And I'm sure it'll do well. It'll be in some Game of the Year awards, I'm sure. We then got randomly, which I'm surprised because they've not done it for a while, the PlayStation Plus games for October got dropped randomly in this, and I know usually they like to keep them separate in a blog post, but we got the reveal that Dead Space Remake is coming in October, WWE 2K24 and Doki Doki Literature Club are going to be your free claimable games if you're on the premium subscription and the extra subscription for the month of October. Also tied in with that, we've got some PlayStation Plus classics being added in the form of Legacy of Kain Blood Omen and also the Capcom classic Dino Crisis as well, which I'm looking forward to, hopefully with some trophies. And hopefully it spurs Capcom on to make a damn remake of Dino Crisis, because that's what we're all crying out for. And then the last point on that is we're also getting The Last of Us Part 1. We'll be joining, it's actually there available now. That was part of the Last of Us Day celebrations, formerly known as Outbreak Day, that happened earlier this week, which was the 9th anniversary of The Last of Us. I think 9th, 10th anniversary.
Something like that,
Came out in 2013 originally, so 11th anniversary, sorry. Which is scary to think. And we got a trailer for The Last of Us Part 2, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. And so decent little lineup. I think Dead Space and The Last of Us are probably the biggest ones, obviously. But yeah, nice PlayStation catalogs up there. And I know Mark was asking about the PlayStation 5 Pro, so I guess we can talk about it at this stage. They showed off like a little sizzle reel for the 20 games that are going to get Pro enhancements. Richie, pre-orders went live this week for the 30th anniversary collection and the PlayStation Pro. Did you treat yourself to anything? Did you dabble? Did you have a look? Are you still tempted?
I was only very slightly tempted, to be honest. I was not. I had no interest in the PS5 Pro, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we covered that on last week's
show. It's the best way to play PlayStation. If you got the money, fine. I don't see it as enough of an upgrade to warrant dropping the cash for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
The 30th anniversary ones, that Portal is sexy as hell. But again, I can't justify just buying another Portal. I have one. I use it all the time. It's a shame because if it came out 6 months ago when I was looking to buy a Portal, that's the one I would have went for.
That would have been the anniversary though, would it?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, and controllers. I have enough. I know you, during the PS4 era, you did like to collect your controllers a bit.
Mm.
I never bothered. I've got 2 PS5 controllers. My girlfriend's got 2, so as a household, we've got 4.
Yeah.
Couldn't really justify a 5th.
Well, Roger in the chat says he got a PS5 Pro. Good stuff, Roger. I know a couple of people, actually, I think Jin in the chat might have or not. I know there's a couple of people in our Discord who were in the queue. I started off not with a collection of PlayStation controllers, and then over time, and it's been like birthdays and Christmas, and they've done certain ones. So yeah, mine is starting to grow. I was away with work over the weekend, so I woke up in my hotel before going to our meeting and jumped in the queue 8 o'clock because they didn't tell us an official date it would go live, but I know the Astrobot controllers went live I think at 9 o'clock. So I thought I'll jump in and check. I got put into a queue. It took a good maybe hour and a half. So I sat through breakfast with my phone on the table, made all my colleagues aware that I'm a big video game nerd, and I was like, this is the equivalent of me buying Oasis or Taylor Swift tickets. So I said, please allow me the time the courtesy to just have this open. So got to the meeting started at like, I can't remember what time, but I had my laptop open, I had my phone out as well, just pausing on basically this you are in a digital queue screen. I got through. There's the 30th anniversary stuff. It was there, Richie. The Pro Bundle. I warned one of my colleagues. I said, don't let me buy the Pro Bundle. My wife will kill me. I don't need it.
So you're still alive.
I'm still alive.
Does she know?
I didn't. So I didn't get it. But it had add to cart. It was there. Add to cart. Ooh. And it was $959 was the price, which I actually thought it would be over $1,000, like a good chunk over $1,000. When you add all the individual items up, the Edge control that comes in it, the console itself is like $700, and then the anniversary jazz of it all, I thought it was going to be higher. But when I saw it there, $959, I was like, I hit add to cart just because I wanted to check, and then nothing happened on the page. So I hit add to cart again. Nothing happened. Like nothing updated. The little number in the little shopping basket didn't change. And I thought, I'm going to like crash the website. I'm going to get kicked out. So I went to the controller, found the DualSense, add to cart, popped in straight away. Add the Portal to the cart, popped in straight away. So for some reason, the Pro console didn't work. Went to cart, ordered. I seemingly have secured a Portal and a DualSense 30th anniversary.
Ooh.
So
you went for the Portal as well.
I did, because as you said, it looks sexy AF.
It does.
And my reasoning behind that is, like I said, the controller, I did want the PS4 controller and I missed out. So there's that part of me is like, oh, you missed out last time, don't miss out this time. Then secondly, in my Portal, I feel like I can still sell my Portal for almost like without much of a loss. Plus Christmas is coming up. So I'm going to kind of do a deal with my parents. Because, again, you're an adult, you don't want certain things, but I can very much easily go to them and go, I'll go halves with you on this. Go to my wife, I'll go halves with you on this. And it won't cost me that much monetarily, so I'm thinking, so like, maybe that's my reasoning.
If you sold the Portal for £50 loss from what you paid for it, effectively you're paying £50 for the upgraded
for the sexy version.
But it's so sexy.
Exactly, yeah. So I know a couple of people jumped on and got into it. I know a few people in the chat are talking about, like, yeah, the second-hand market.
There's something about it, and on the Portal especially, it just lands perfectly.
Yeah, it's the I think it's the black screen in the middle with the grey component. I think grey tech is very unassuming. I mean, we'll get it later on when we do our rankings of consoles.
And the sacred symbols, the colour, the PlayStation logos, the original coloured one, it just pops right.
Absolutely. So we'll see. They haven't shown up yet. They don't come out until later in the month, later next month, or November, I think. So time will tell. But we'll see. But I'm glad. But yeah, I was on the cusp. The fact that I hit add to cart tells me something about my own sanity. But then looking at eBay, have you seen all the stories this week about saying they were getting flipped for like $5,000 or something. So I could have made my money back tenfold if I'd have actually acquired one.
If you've done that, you're a dickhead.
You're a scalper.
It's just greedy. You're just ruining other people's enjoyment just for cheap profit. Just fuck off.
Yeah, you should give it away for free.
I really hate. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't buy it unless you want it.
No, they should buy it and give it away for free to pay penance for
that's
their
your punishment.
arseholeness.
Yeah.
But then I think, like, even if, like, I told myself, like, oh, if you got it and you could sell it, but then in my mind I'm like, well, I wouldn't sell it. When I got it, I would cling to it dearly, and hopefully maybe sell it in 20 years' time when it's worth a lot more. But that's not the point why you buy these things. Again, they're passion things. But speaking about giving things away, Richie, we might as well mention our giveaway again for our merchandise. We have a GamerGuild t-shirt. We've got some stickers. We've got some badges, some pin badges, some limited edition pin badges, and we've got a GamerGuild mug as well to give away as part of our anniversary celebrations. Anyone who's commented in the chat today on the live stream, or anyone who comments after the fact in the weekly podcast video or tweets about us, any kind of engagement socially, we're going to whack your name into a spin wheel of death, and we're going to pick out a winner, and we're going to give the prizes away. Spin wheel of death. Lena chat says, gotta love Richie's no-nonsense approach. Yeah, he's straight into it. Sometimes he keeps me balanced because I think I would wildly go crazy. But my controller list at the moment, Richie, I've got the original white one. I've got the red, the metallic red. I do like that one. I've got the metallic blue.
I also like that
which
one.
also
they are good as well.
Did you see they also announced 3 new colours at the State of Play?
Yes, and they look very, very nice as well.
Which one? The teal? The green?
The teal look good, yeah. The teal was the one I think that stood out to me.
That stands out to me because it goes with these two, the metallic ones, and it's like part of me is just like, why do I need every colour of the rainbow? Yeah. And I've got the Astrobot one, and I have a problem, is basically what I need to admit to myself. You can only play with one at a time, but that's not the point. That's not the point.
You can try and play with 2.
You can. Al Davis in chat says eBay should have a system where they can't sell something more than RRP if the product is recently released. Yeah, I know the eBay took some flack saying like it doesn't clash with their policies, but they should definitely look into it because it's tech problem 101.
It's technically nothing illegal or anything. For me, it's just all you're doing is for limited edition stuff. You're just getting in the way of other people having enjoyment and making things more expensive, just so for you can have a cheap profit. It's like you're not adding anything to society. You're subtracting. It's not like you're running a business where you're offering a service. You're getting in the way of that.
Yeah, I agree. But that was it for the state. Obviously, it ended with Ghosts of Yotei, but we spoke about that at the beginning, so we flipped that on its head. So again, thinking of timing, Richie, imagine getting to this point and going, we haven't even got to Ghosts of Yotei yet. This is where I was worried in the show, but we'll move away from the state of play now into the next big stories of the week. So speaking of Ghosts of Yotei and feudal Japan and samurais, ironically, we pivot away to Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I don't know if anyone noticed out there. It's been delayed, Richie.
Yep, it has.
It almost felt like immediately off the back of the Ghost of Yotei announcement, Ubisoft were like, "Oh shit, what can we, this game needs to be better." Reading from the Assassin's Creed social media. Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us, finally bringing the series to feudal Japan, with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour or the renewal of stealth, brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful and immersive world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of 2 unique protagonists, but we realise we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As much, we've made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day. The game will release on a broad range, I don't know why I did like that, range of platforms, including Steam at launch, which is a little news story in itself. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. So there's a slightly tweak to the roadmap there. We understand this decision will come as a disappointing news, especially those who've been waiting patiently for Assassin's Creed game inspired by feudal Japan for decades. Didn't say that part. But we sincerely believe this is in the best interests of the game and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we are looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Naoe and Yasuke. Until then, we thank you for your ongoing support. Mark Alexis Cote on behalf of all the teams working on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Richie, that bumps Assassin's Creed out of November to February 2025, the same year as Ghost of Yotei apparently now. This wasn't a decision seemingly made lightly by Ubisoft. Yves Guillemot, the CEO, has actually came out this week saying they've learned lessons from Star Wars Outlaws, muted launch. And
finally learned the lessons.
I mean, they've done it with Prince of Persia, because that game got shafted out a good couple of years. But
yeah, but they didn't. Star Wars Outlaws came out.
It did.
I've seen a lot of that game. I've seen the Platinum Ping, which you haven't.
I haven't. You're right. Is
that
your
game,
girlfriend got the platinum in that?
Yeah, that game is at least 6 months away from launch, I reckon. From watching it, it just it's oddly enough, it's got the reverse Ubisoft thing. Usually, your main character looks amazing, and a lot of NPCs look crap in Ubisoft games. It's the other way around. Something about Kay looks unfinished.
The hair, man. The hair. I mean, we won't get into
it's the face, whatever. The game looks unfinished. And that's just the general impression I've got. It looks like a fun game, but it's a solid 7 out of 10. And this is my thing with Ubisoft. They never seem to be pushing further. I'm hoping, looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows and going, oh, Outlaws got hammered because of the level of quality that Ubisoft give a check mark to. Push harder. I want this game to go head to head with Ghost of Yotei in terms of quality. Ubisoft are capable. And now they've got in the same year, there's going to be comparisons.
Yeah.
Go for the game of the year. Ubisoft, go for the game of the year. If this takes another 6 months, take it.
Yeah, there's a few things to drill into and get into that. We should point out they have announced the Star Wars Outlaws kind of roadmap, and they've said big updates and stuff, which we'll keep that as a small little side. They announced the Lando Calrissian DLC, titled Wildcard. That's going to bring in new stories, new stuff, and they're going to do big major improvements to stealth, and basically they're going to give a little bit of an overhaul. Which, in an ironic twist, if they knew this earlier, if Shadows was getting bumped till February, Outlaws probably could have took Assassin's Creed spot in the marketing and the cycle, which would have given them an extra 2 and a bit months. But
as I said, they've made this decision on the back of Outlaws. So
yeah. So I guess the quick key things is this is, if to my knowledge, the first Assassin's Creed game that's not came out in the big kind of seasonal winter period. It's the only thing I've ever seen with a notable knockback. Has an Assassin's Creed game ever been delayed by this one? Ubisoft, to their credit, in the past have always been quite good at hitting that kind of October-November window with their AAA titles. Yeah, obviously not recently, with Avatar and everything. Sometimes 3 times
in one go.
Yeah, sometimes 3 times in one go. What was it? Watch Dogs, Immortals, and Assassin's Creed?
And Valhalla.
Damn. Yeah. In the chat, Brendan says, honestly, I'm still not done with Valhalla, so I'm okay with this delay. I mean, I was like, oh damn it, because that was my big game for the end of the year, and then upon a few seconds I was like, that just gives me more time to play everything else. So delays don't bother me.
My girlfriend's a big Ubisoft fan like you, and she was like, her initial reaction, I think it's telling, she was quite happy for this to be delayed and go, you know what, it's getting delayed, it'll be a better game when it comes out, I'm going to go play Dragon Age.
Yeah. So spread the wealth, spread the money. And I guess Valentine's Day, Richie, you can sit down with a nice glass of wine and she can play Assassin's Creed Shadows on Valentine's Day.
That will probably happen.
I'm going to call it now. So the other thing they've said is the first expansion for anyone. They're going to refund pre-orders, and then future pre-orders are going to get the first expansion for free, which kind of seems like a veiled, it's not really a perk. It's more just we're going to do this for them, but it's well, if you've bought the pre-order...
I'm going to give them credit here. They don't need to do that.
True.
Games get delayed all the time, and usually, apart from people who just want things now and don't realise quality takes time, most people tend to lean towards, fine, take your time, we want a polished product, we want this to be good when we play it. Mm-hmm. So there's no real precedent for Ubisoft having to give away DLC. So good guys, Ubisoft.
Yeah. They did something right. I honestly think the game looks great. It's obviously been bashed quite a lot for a couple of things unnecessarily.
There's a bit of hubris with Ubisoft. I think that with Outlaws, they've got a huge IP and a decent game. I think they've probably thought that's enough. And then the critical reception and some of the player reception has not been where they want it to be.
Yeah.
So maybe they went, maybe there's a problem. Make sure, and this is they're resting a lot on this game. How many games have been cancelling and doubling down on Assassin's Creed? This needs to land.
Yeah.
And it will. I believe it will.
Yeah. They're still getting it in before the financial year, and maybe releasing at a quieter time will benefit them more. But it's going to be an interesting one. I think they are focusing on Outlaws. They expect it to pick up over Christmas. I think generally with like a Star Wars IP, they're going to get all these patches and the DLC out just before Black Friday. So I think Ubisoft are probably going to discount the game heavily heading into Black Friday, which they normally do anyway. And it's even going to get a Steam release in November as well. So that'll boost it a little bit too. I think Ubisoft, like I said, they do have their eggs all in the Assassin's Creed basket. But I don't think this definitely wasn't a reaction to Ghost of Yotei. I don't think it's unfortunate timing that two Japanese feudal open world games are in the same news story together. But I'm with you, and I think many other people saying that actually, just take as long as you need for it. Ubisoft, do what you need to. And I look forward to playing it in the new year. And as I said, that just gives me more time. The other little snippet in here. Sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to be excited for Ghost of Yotei because of Assassin's Creed Shadows and how much I enjoyed it.
There's part of me that thinks Yotei will be 2026, you know? Like, how often do games get announced and get bumped? And I think,
I don't know, they've been quite quiet and they didn't really even need to announce it in the State of Play. No one was expecting it, so...
Yeah, I just think the state of games now, I think if we ever get a date, always knock it back another half a year.
Yeah.
And it's not coming out early 2025, is it?
No, it'll be late.
Oh, I mean, now it might clash with Assassin's Creed if they come out in like May, March, April. So, either way, the other snippet...
I'd expect Yotei to be like September, October, November.
Yeah, I would have thought so. The snippet to take away from that as well is Ubisoft games returning to Steam. They haven't done so for a long time. They've been pretty much since we started this channel. They've pivoted to go on the Uplay store, if you remember. They have been on Epic Game Store, but coming back to Steam, which I think will probably benefit Ubisoft because Steam is having like record numbers of plays. So take that away.
Steam is the default gaming store for PC gamers. It doesn't make sense to not be there.
Yeah, it's it pretty much has its stake in the ground on that one, doesn't it? Right, moving on from Ubisoft Shadows and into some other big stories. Richie, you played Start that again. You played The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. First look, you can't wait to get back to it. Reviews are in. The game is doing incredibly well. We've got IGN give it a 9 out of 10. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom is far more than some second-tier spin-off combining expertly crafted dungeons, item progression you'd expect from a 2D Zelda with the wild creativity provided by Tears of the Kingdom. Nintendo Life give it a 9 out of 10 as well, saying it is easily in contention with A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds as one of the best top-down adventures in the series, and we hope we don't need to wait another 35 years for Zelda to take on a starring role once again. VGC 24/7 gave it a 4 out of 5, saying Echoes of Wisdom feels like the perfect sign-off for the Switch with new hardware reportedly on the horizon. It's colourful, accessible, epic that pushes the console to its limits, with all the mechanical depth, innovation and artistic design, whimsy and spirit of adventure you expect from any first-party Nintendo game. So across the board, this game's pretty much sitting around a 9 out of 10, Richie. You've only played a short amount of it, but let's get into your initial thoughts and previews of how much you enjoyed it.
I'll address the negatives first. I only have one. The Switch. Oh. The Switch is holding this game back. Not terribly. There's a few points. If you watch my live stream of it, when I get to the castle town of Hyrule, the frame rate drops a bit, and when you move and the background goes a bit, they've put a motion blur effect on there, which is a bit jarring. Doesn't impact my enjoyment of the game, and it's not in combat. So it's just when I think it's in scenes where there's a lot of stuff happening, the Switch is holding this back, and they found a way to make it workable.
Right.
That is the only reason I'm not from what I've played. I'm not giving this game a 10 out of 10. It's a 9. there's something about it. There's a lot of creativity with like Tears of the Kingdom. I think IGN mentioned it, and it puts the creativity in the player to figure out how you're being part of the world. And it's like, okay, there's a thing there. How do you get to it? Figure it out with the tool set you've got.
Mm-hmm.
The ecosystem's actually quite oddly brilliant, to be honest, because there'll be a thing in the world once you've recorded it as an echo. So, for example, if you beat an enemy, the first time you beat an enemy, you can record it as an echo, then you can summon that enemy to fight for you.
Oh, like as a ghost version of it.
Yeah. Or you can. One of the things you get very early on is a bed. A bed effectively takes 2 horizontal tiles.
Right.
So I got to a hard piece by making a bridge out of beds.
A bridge. Oh, okay. So you can.
So it's using that creativity in the world, and it's quite intuitive as well.
Oh, good.
And you know what? It's got that Zelda charm 100% in it, and it's just like I just had a smile on my face. I just want to get back and play this game. Like I don't really, because I haven't played much. I can't say where things are narratively.
Yeah,
it's quite fun starting off with Link, and there's a few things. You start off with the bow, bombs, and the sword. Each of them have a charge attack. So the bow will fire a normal arrow. If you press and hold, it fires 3 arrows. The bombs, you throw a normal bomb. If you charge it, it turns into a bomb chew, which is like a mouse made out of a bomb.
Okay.
So it runs around the screen. So I'm interested to see how them mechanics, which weren't in a Link Between Worlds, Link's Awakening, the remake, how they are introduced into Zelda's gameplay going forward. So I'm just excited to play more.
Interesting.
I really am.
That's always the problem when you do a first look, is it's such like a moment in time that you inevitably always want to get back to, but then stuff gets in the way, like live streams and everything like that. It's an interesting one to see kind of pan out. I'm looking forward to hearing more as it goes on, but it's just a testament to Nintendo first party that regardless of how old the Switch gets, they still deliver the goods when it comes to unique storytelling, fun, whimsy, and a video game, to be fair. So, Legends of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom rounding out. I will say to anyone watching along live, the Gears of War stream is going to be later than initially planned.
Yes.
We should have scheduled better for this very show, knowing fine well we were going to go along. But hell, we got a shed ton of news this week. So shout out to everyone who's watching along live. We'll probably bump it back, because we need to get some food as well. We need to eat to power our pirating. I said pirating because the next story of the week is Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza was revealed randomly, not at any events. It was just revealed. I thought it would have been at... it was part of the RGG Summit, which is like a special Japanese anime event. It's a spin-off to the Yakuza series. We don't really know much about it, but it's a character from the Yakuza series who's now getting his own spin-off. So it's Ryaga Gotoku from Like a Dragon, but it's now in Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This franchise can just be anything. Remember we had Infinite Wealth, which was very different as well. And so this takes place on the Shandy Shores of Rich Island. It's where you live. Unsure he is there, why he's there.
Such a bad joke.
But however, he's now a pirate. And it's got interesting fight styles, and he's killing people. And I don't really know what the hell Yakuza is other than just crazy Japanese fun and action. Anything to add to that, Richie?
Not really. There's a lot of these games coming out at the moment. Sega really seem to be doubling down on the franchise.
Oh, tripling, quadrupling down.
Yeah.
Comes out February 28th. So that's, again, February window starting to look a bit manic. With Assassin's Creed and now this and Monster Hunter as well. But they'll do it. We did get, as I said, Tokyo Game Show. There wasn't actually as much at Tokyo Game Show as I thought there would be. There was a lot of booths and stuff. Xbox had the showcase. They didn't really show off a massive amount. We got Metal Gear Delta, kind of just an update trailer for that one, showing off some of the character models and the designs. Which again just looks great. Not coming out this year, seemingly though. It was rumored. I think some of the ESRB leaks or something came out. Said it might have been PlayStation's website. Said it had it slated for 2024. I think that's been bumped now. I think we're probably going to see this probably closer to spring next year now.
Yeah, it was meant. I think it was initially announced to be 2024.
It was, yeah.
You know what? Again, take your time.
Take your time.
We don't need. I don't think we need it this year.
No,
I'm glad it's made it. I'm glad it's made a return because it seemed like it went quiet for a while.
Yeah, it just looks equally great. Some of the lip syncing in the trailer looked a bit off to me, but we'll probably hopefully tidy that up come launch. We also got Age of Mythology Immortal Pillars DLC announced, which is some new DLC for Age of Mythology. I love that the teams at Microsoft do this with the games, that it's an old game that gets a remaster, but then they make new content for it as well. Just adds that extra injection of life. They did it for Age of Empires for loads of it, and it's like whole new factions and stuff, which is great to see. We got an Indiana Jones trailer which showed off Japanese dubbing for Indiana Jones. So just think of a really angry Harrison Ford, but he's speaking Japanese. It's almost like a character unto itself. We also got the reveal of Trials of Mana coming to Game Pass. I think it's actually available now. I think that was one of those.
Yeah, it is actually available now. Yeah.
So it was Trials of Mana and Legend of Mana straight into Game Pass, which is great to see. We also got Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remasters also confirmed coming to Xbox.
Slightly disappointed they weren't Game Pass or PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
I really want these games, but I think they're overpriced.
Yeah, I thought there would have been. I think I looked after I finished Final Fantasy 16, and I think it was like £45, maybe £50, and I thought like for something I'm not too sure if I'll definitely enjoy. After I finished, I might have been Sea of Stars actually, that made me like a hunger for them, and thought, well, the pixel remasters seem like the next logical step. I didn't go to them. We also got Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster, which is coming in March 6th, 2025. So if you are into a JRPG, you're eating well right now. Like between the pixel remasters, the Mana games, Sea of Stars, of course, came out last year. What was the two we looked at? The Luna remasters that are coming.
Yeah.
Damn.
Triangle Strategy VR as well.
Yeah, that is a weird one.
It's weird, but I think it kind of works because it's a strategic game, so you can navigate yourself around the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite an interesting implementation of VR. So
yeah, but if you want this type of game, though, you're eating well right now. Eating well, absolutely. We got announcement of StarCraft Remaster 1 and then 2, the collection, heading to PC Game Pass this November the 5th. So if you're into StarCraft, that's a big get as well coming over. Might check those out on a stream at some point. In the same vein we were with the Mana and the Pixel remasters. I don't know if you saw this one, Richie, but there was a Thread of Time was revealed as a spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger, and also it looks to compete with Sea of Stars in that vibe. So you've got that anime and then JRPG stuff. So Threads of Time, that's how they described it. It's got these.
I didn't.
Have you not seen this one? So it's got the same composer from the Mana series as well doing the music, and it's got a bit more of a 3D style to it. But like looking at this visually, it looks like kind of like
it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's one of them that I saw and I was like, oh, this is for Richie.
Chrono Trigger is one of them games that needs to come to modern hardware. It's dying for a full remaster.
It's got to be in the works.
In the 2D, in the 2.5D style, or things like Octopath, it would do so well because it's such a good game. And oddly, it's kind of lost to time.
Chrono Trigger, never played it.
I'd recommend it if you can get your hands on it.
Yeah, but this has got that really I think this has just a bit more depth to its art style, like literal depth, where it's like it's so 3D. Like 2D overlay, it's an interesting one. 2.5D doesn't do justice for what this game looks like. But yeah, mixed between the anime and the beautiful art style, I think this could go up. If they can get the story right, I think this could be a big one. So between Sea of Stars and Threads of Time, we're in a rich picking world right now for JRPGs. We also got the news, just quick stories now, just to wind down. The MetaQuest 3S got revealed, so some VR news for you guys out there. £280 price tag for this one. This is just a lesser version of the MetaQuest 3, which also did get a price drop as well. £150 price drop for that one, but still cheaper if you want the 3S. It's basically take all the specs, drop them down a little bit, different chipsets and whatnot, and it's been bundled in with the Batman Arkham Shadow launch, so they showed that game off. I've got no interest in VR at the moment. I had my time with it. I think it's great that the tech's still out there. I think the Meta Quest is probably the big winner of it all because of the sheer lack of cables and connections required. But yeah, cheaper version. What do you think of a cheaper, lesser version?
I think it makes it easier to entry because I think that is one of the problems with VR is the entry price because you typically need hardware on hardware. It's in the console space for like PSVR 2. One, I think the downfalls is the price point because you need a PS5 and then pay for PSVR 2. So you're looking at $1,000 to get into games. What's the extra 500 quid giving you in VR? I don't see the value just at the moment.
Yeah.
VR's cool. The price coming down is definitely a benefit. And a budget version of VR is good. It stops it being a premium product and makes it more accessible.
Yeah.
And that is good for VR.
Looking at you, Apple Pro Vision, $3,500 price tag. What a ridiculous thing.
If you send me one, I'll review it.
Yes, absolutely. And then final quick story. This is just a quick one. Lord of the Rings Tales of the Shire got a release date. It's now coming March 25th, 2025. So just want to get that in there at the end. And then, Richie, we round out every single show by looking at this day in video game history. We're recording, of course, and going live on the 28th of September. Not really much stood out for there, but if you do want to skip ahead a day till the 29th, pick out a big one.
I'm having a quick look through. FIFA Soccer 10 and 11. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, what are you talking about? Great games.
It wasn't the Platinum Edition, though, so it wasn't the initial release.
Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, all 3 versions came out in Japan.
Oh, did they? I thought
the 3 different games.
Platinum was like the ultimate edition of the Diamond and Pearl.
No.
Oh, okay. That shows you what I know then. Yeah, that is a big one then. But looking at September 29th, 28 years ago today, 1996, the Nintendo 64.
Oh, what a fucking get.
27 years ago, we got Croc, Legend of the Gobos. Croc again. Now we've saved the gecko, we've saved the bandicoot, we've saved the dragon. Let's save the crocodile. Let's get that mascot back in a remake.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
25 years ago.
Start of a dynasty.
Dynasty Warriors is probably in here. So it is Dynasty Warriors 7, Extreme Legends. There's always a Dynasty Warriors game released on. Every single day of the calendar year has a Dynasty Warriors. 24 years ago in the year 2000, we got Dino Crisis 2. So again, we've got Dino Crisis back on the PlayStation Classics. Come on, Capcom, give us it. And anything major? 7 years ago? Cuphead, 7 years. Shit. Yeah. That's like, in my mind, that's such a recent game, and evidently it's not. Cuphead, damn. Xbox exclusive for a brief time.
We're covering the 30th as well. We need to. There's some bangers. Right,
let's go ahead to the 30th. 30th sees Doom 2 come to PC in 1994, 30 years ago today. On PC, Age of Empires, the original, 27 years ago in 1997.
Street Fighter Alpha 2 for PlayStation and Saturn.
That's a good one. Grand Theft Auto 2. 25 years ago.
Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings, the game alongside Pokemon of my childhood. Probably that, Ocarina of Time, and Pokemon Red and Blue are the 3 games in my childhood I played the most.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. One. Gran Turismo on PSP, the first portable Gran Turismo game. Looked great back in the day. And then a good one for you and me, Richie. 10 years ago in 2014, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor on everything. PS4, Xbox One, PC, etc. Great game. Why can't we get a third one? Damn it.
Does WB want to make everything...
They want to make Wonder Woman instead and Suicide Squad 50 times over. But that is this day in video games, and that brings us to an end of this week's GamerGuild podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Thank you for everyone watching along in the live chat for this very special 5th anniversary edition of the GamerGuild podcast. I can see many of you still there chatting along, watching along. Lee in the chat says, the N64. I was so hyped for FIFA 64, and when I got it, I hated it. Yeah, too many pixels. It's that I couldn't imagine playing FIFA on an N64 controller.
Yeah,
I think my brain would just break.
I had International Superstar Soccer, which I think was the precursor to Pro Evo.
Wow, that is a mouthful. I
say had, still have. Still have it.
Still have. And of course, everyone who was in the live chat and everyone who comments on this video after the fact, you'll be in the raffle to win some Gamer Guild merch as well as part of our celebration. So thank you to everyone who showed up. Lee, Jin, Brendan, Ben, Al Davis Music, Roger, Crazy Bad's been in there as well. Who else do we have? Richie dropped in. Hungry Moogle, of course, dropped in with us.
Big Lawrence.
Derek dropped in. I'm trying to go back up through the chat just so I can get everyone in as we round out the show. Steve was there. Ted was dropping in as well. We got some amazing super chats from loads of folks as well. Gary dropped by.
Sarge, Edward Jeffrey was in there.
You're all fantastic. And thank you very much for stopping by for a very special episode. We've been very, very long. We've gone over 2 hours on this one. But it is a special. It is our anniversary. And it is episode 430 of our weekly podcast, which is insane to say. Half a decade of me, Richie, and friends talking about video games, covering the weekly news. And thank you. We couldn't do it without your wonderful support. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the content, especially if you're watching along live, because there's more content coming today. We're going to take a break now and go get some food. But for everyone watching or listening along after the fact, thank you very much. We'll catch you on the flip side. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been the GamerGuild Podcast. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. For another 5 years, at least. Goodbye.
Bye.